on Facebook. There was a post on Facebook that said that I made the appointments to the Cemetery Trust Board, and I appointed myself. That is absolutely not true. And that's documented if anybody needs to look at it. Okay? Mr. King, you mentioned the next meeting, you were gonna suggest a change in the ordinance. That's already in motion. I placed that in motion earlier. And hopefully we'll have something by next month. Mr. Sells, you mentioned something about why the city should pay to build a wall up. Because the original story that I got was that the wall fell because of shoddy work. Later on, they admitted that our employees knocked the wall down. So therefore, I think if our employees knock the wall down, our obligation is to rebuild it. As far as the cost of the wall, it is what it is. I don't know whether we were overcharged on any of it or not. That's not for me to determine. Now, I do know that I did speak to a man that's familiar with the wall and familiar with the cost of building a wall like that. And he says that's not out of line. Now, we mentioned, I think it was mentioned about the wall up here by the senior center. This wall is 191 feet long, approximately 3.5 feet high. The walls over by the cemetery are made of blocks rather than poured concrete, which originally I suggested that we pour them. But regardless of that, those walls over there are 502 feet approximately, with an average height of 5 foot. So they're going to cost more. So, like I say, I don't have any problem with an investigation. I welcome it. I told him that same thing the other day. I don't have a problem with it. I don't know what it'll determine, but if they come up with the truth, like they say, the truth shall set you free. And there's been some accusations aimed at me, and I personally might be wrong, but like I stated on Facebook in response to one of these members' posts, it's obvious I'm not his cup of tea for mayor. He ran against me with 3 others and lost. When he lost that, he come at me with a ethics complaint. It's obvious I'm not his cup of tea. Another member of the council, I made a Facebook post when he ran, and he asked me about it, and I tried to explain to him the remark I made was not aimed at him, but obviously he didn't believe it. And I think that's what's driving this deal right now. That wall's been knocked down since the 25th of September. Why are they waiting till 7 days before an election? I think it's to try to convince the citizens of Grantville that I'm not doing a good job. But I give more credit to the citizens of Grantville. I think they'll see through that. That's all I have to say. Mr. Grishaber.
I have nothing, sir.
Mr. Mitchell.
Nothing, sir.
All right, nothing else come before the council. Adjournment's in order.
So moved.
I have a motion, to have a second.
Second.
You know, it's unfortunate where we're at with this. This meeting has been labeled a discussion about the cemetery wall that was built on Griffin Street. technically, I thought we discussed it Monday night at our regular council meeting. That's not why we called this meeting. You know, you're talking about charitable donated money that has been guarded by a group of trustees for years. Once it was passed on to the city, in 6 months' time, it's gone. There's $47,115 of the $73,000 plus dollars that's intangible. Nobody knows. You can't put your hands on it. There was no contract, no bids. The city council, as far as I'm concerned, didn't have a clue what the wall cost until it was compromised. It's kind of odd in the whole thing, there was no checks written over $10,000. I think that there was some proven documentation about who was responsible for the wall. I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody. I'm just saying there was a lot of unanswered questions here. And Tuesday, because I felt like after our regular meeting Monday night, we didn't accomplish anything. So Mark King and I requested from the mayor and asked for a G.B.I. investigation into this. Hadn't heard another word about it. So this is why this meeting's been called tonight. And that's all. I don't want to make this long drawn out, get in a pointing finger match. I just want somebody that does this higher up than us to look into it. And then we'll all know the answers. That's all I got right this minute.
Mr. Mayor, upon reviewing the invoices for the construction of the wall,
A little louder, please.
I said, upon reading the invoices for the construction of the wall, I found some alarming discrepancies and some alarming prices. The city's been charged either $650 or $725 per block for a $2 block at Lowe's. How the cost of the block goes up by 300% using the vendor that was chosen leads me to question some other things. We have cement deliveries for the footings, and on one of the invoices there's a $100 charge for the delivery of their cement. Little things like that add up. And we're talking over $4,000 for the cost of the block, $100 for delivery charges, $10 for pallet for when the sod was delivered. I mean, these things are all avoidable, and they're avoidable because we needed a contract on this job. A $70,000 wall is outside the parameters the city council should allow. Sure, not one check was written for over $10,000, but $9,210 for labor. Getting close. Didn't go over 10 grand. So is on top of the cost discrepancies I found on the wall, I'm going to suggest that we lower the spending limit of the city to $3,000 and take away the opportunity to blow 80 grand in a heartbeat. 6 months is just a heartbeat. Now, this has nothing to do with anybody running for mayor against you in the past, as you so indicated. This has to do with the trustees, the deceased trustees of Cemetery Trust, spinning over in their graves because their voices can't be voiced right now. They can't go spend $80,000, $70,000 on a wall and not have accountability to the people who paid for it, and that's the Cemetery Trust Fund people. who donated their monies to keep the perpetual life of the cemetery trust going. That's all I got. That's it.
Ms. Hines, you got anything?
This would be to Mr. Grishaber. The wall that's on the side of the seniors. Sorry, the wall that's on their side by the senior center.
Yes, ma'am.
Was a contract written to do that wall?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
That's it?
Yes, for right now.
Okay. Mr. Keith?
Just a couple of questions that were that was brought to my mind was on a $70,000 job. Why would it be prudent for our city employees to do anything, given the totality of that price? And it just seems a lot of money to involve the city and city resources. And also, given the relation to what the city right-of-way, it just seems to me that there was no stock given to a council voice and or people's voice in the process. Also, as it's been mentioned on our previous meeting night and this meeting night as well, that this has been a travesty for our city. And my main goal in the process is to ensure that checks and balances are in place, a process and or procedures in place to ensure that this doesn't happen again.
Mr. Graveshaver, you got anything to say?
No, sir.
Pardon me?
No, sir.
Oh. Let me go ahead and reverse here. Mr. Key, I couldn't agree with you more about involving city employees in the repair of it. In fact, I have had a problem with them getting involved in it, but I didn't directly go over there and get involved in it. I don't know where that direction came from, but I can assure you that it did not come from me. My concern, along with yours, is if we're paying somebody to do a job and then we take part of that job, we take any and all warranty, I would think, away from him. Now, Mr. Waycaser or Mr. King, either one, y'all mentioned coming to my office, I've forgotten the date, but.
It was Tuesday morning. Tuesday morning.
Tuesday.
This past Tuesday morning, yeah.
You know the date?
And then
No, I'm sure
October
we
the
can look
23rd.
23rd. Tuesday the 23rd, and asked about a G.B.I. investigation. Do you recall my response to you?
Yep, you leaned back in your chair and said, I didn't have nothing to do with the wall.
What, that didn't answer my
Did
question.
you
about
said you
the
didn't have
GBI.
any problems with it, but you didn't take action.
About the G.B.I., what about?
You said you didn't have any problems with that, but you didn't take any action. So you,
But now, what else did I mention? Let me ask you this. Had y'all already discussed the G.B.I. investigation with the manager?
me,
Did you say that you had?
I don't recall that, no. I was upset Tuesday morning because, like I stated in my earlier comments, that we didn't accomplish anything Monday night when this. You know, I felt like I already had pretty good documentation that you orchestrated the wall. And you sit right here the other night and denied it.
No, I didn't.
You know, and all you had to do was say, you know what, I did, and it didn't, you know, you just, but you pointed the finger at somebody else.
No.
Okay.
First off, my recollection when y'all came to the office, and Mark, it might have been you, that indicated y'all had spoken to the city manager, and he said he did not feel he was.
You're right. I thought you asked me had I discussed it with the city
GBI.
manager. We asked him, we asked him to request a GBI investigation.
Right. And my
And
response to
he
you,
referred us to you.
and my response to you, as best I recall, was, I do not have a problem with the GBI investigation. However, I would not request it until Mr. Grishaber and I talked about why he didn't feel he could do it. And that's where it was left.
Because you have pointed a finger at him and said he was responsible for this. And I think he just felt like it wasn't his place to request it.
Well, let me answer the question.
Well, first off, let me say this. I never pointed a finger at him, as you say.
Well, I mean,
And here's what I said on the 22nd at the meeting. It's for anybody that wants to hear. I admitted my part in the wall. I told you that I originally talked to Mr. Rosser about doing a poured wall on each side of that street. I told you that Mr. Grishaber and myself, along with Mr. Rosser, and I believe Ron was over there, we met, and Mr. Grishaber and I left this building in his city vehicle. And we went over there and met with Mr. Rosser, and as I indicated here, no dodging from me. I told him, I said, I thought the wall should begin at point A, end at point B, and be so high on each side of the street. Now, as far as directing the operation over there, I didn't. I said that Monday night, and I'm saying it again this Monday.
You actually said that you went over there and you suggested the wall ought to be this long.
Sure did. You wanna listen
It's on
to
that
it?
tape, okay. Well, you don't have to play it right now, I will listen to it later.
But anyway, hey, you wanted to say something?
Yes, you referred to the conversation that they had with me. Councilmember King, Councilmember Van Kaser asked me, they had talked with the chief and they said there are 3 people that can request a GBI investigation. The city manager, the mayor, and the city council. I said, I am not going to request a GBI investigation because I am involved. You can see the mayor. If the city council wants to request a GBI investigation, it is fine with me.
And
And
it's
that-
also fine with me.
Okay.
Well, you weren't there. That's what I said. So, if that's where it is, that's fine. I have it well documented. I stand by what took place. And that's fine.
Okay.
And let's let somebody else decide. That's, like I said, there's just too much money that's intangible here with no contract and no bids. I make a motion, if you're, are you through with your comments?
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion that we request a GBI investigation into the problems we've had with the wall and the money that was spent on it, and let somebody else come in here and account for it. I didn't know, if I had known Monday night that it wouldn't cost us a dime to have a GBI investigation done, I would have made the motion Monday night, but I'm making it now.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, I have a motion and a second to request a GBI investigation into what exactly? What business you want investigated?
I want the money that was in the cemetery trust fund that was spent to construct the wall on Griffin Street investigated. Are you looking for some correct terminology? Is that what you're doing here?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Mitchell, can you help us with this? Don't you work for all of us here?
I do work for all of you, yes.
Well, can you put this, or Steve, can you chime in? He wants some correct terminology here, so can somebody help us with that? Y'all know what I'm saying.
I assume, that what you're looking for is something along the lines of an investigation of the construction of the wall and all issues relating to that, or something along that line. Including
The phone.
source and use of the funds.
There you go. Thank you.
I have a question.
All right, at this point, I ask for questions.
How much exactly, are we talking about labor, the cost that was paid to Mr. Rosser? Or are we talking about the materials that was used for the building of the wall? Also, are we taking in consideration, because I spoke with Mr. Rosser as well, and he was stating the cause of the wall falling, that in fact, he said the wall would stand for years to come, and that the reason the wall was, had fallen was because of the backfill was not done properly. So my question is this: are we asking for a G.B.I. investigation into the labor cost to Mr. Rosser, or we asking for an investigation into all the invoices to the different companies? Is it a combination, or is it just, you're just concerned about the labor cost to Mr. Rosser?
No, ma'am, it would include everything. The whole total amount of money spent on the wall.
So,
It's just that the labor cost is intangible.
okay, we are also, we do have to keep in mind, we're talking about 2 walls, and also, I believe he paved 2 driveways in the cemetery. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Just one?
Yeah,
Okay.
the best I could, and these are rough estimates, 15 by 18 driveway going up.
That's about 5 yards of concrete at $100 a yard. You're talking about $500.
That's my question.
You got anything else you need to add, Mr. Waycase?
No, sir, I've made the motion.
How about you, Mr. King? Mr. Key?
No, sir, Mayor, not at this time.
Okay. Alrighty. Hearing no other discussion, all in favor of the motion, signify by aye.
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 Opposed?
Aye.
Ayes have it. So ordered. Alright. Next order of business, citizens' comments. We need you to fill out a form to speak for the record.
There's not any form, we didn't say anything.
There's no forms.
Okay, well, you can go ahead and talk with it. We need you to fill it out, for the
Before I
record.
leave?
For the record.
Okay, they have to.
I appreciate the investigation you're doing now, due diligence that should have done prior. Spending $70,000 with no contract and no due diligence of somebody else's money is reprehensible. I don't know the correct terminology, but when you make a lot of deposits, cash deposits, just below your $10,000 limit, when you do that in an attempt to avoid the $10,000 limit, that's called money laundering. It's a deceptive act to try to avoid being held accountable to that $10,000 limit. And the investigation will determine if that's what's been done here, but if this city won't fall.
Well, I don't know that anybody knows that exactly, though.
No.
I mean, I don't know, it's maybe not my place to answer, but it's, there's some speculation, but I don't know.
Well, I don't think there's any speculation. It collapsed when it was being backfilled.
So it wasn't the builder's fault?
Pardon me?
It wasn't the builder's fault who put the wall up?
I don't think that's been determined. But Mr. Rosser told me when he talked to me on October 23rd, it was his opinion that the wall collapsed due to the dirt put behind it.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
My name is Chandra Coulson.
Okay, wait, come to the mic,
Okay.
because it has to be recorded.
All right.
And please make sure you fill out a form.
I will. My name is Chandra Coulson. I live at 172 Freeman Court, Grant.